I don't know about you guys, but I've actually been looking forward to the GFL draft because while I know it is memed a lot, like we're calling it the geriatric fight league, I don't imagine the fights are actually going to be all that good, to be honest with you, but there are a ton of familiar names. I'm happy that a ton of fighters are seemingly making a lot of money, and it'd be cool to see these guys back in action one more time. So I've been interested in how this is going to go, and we officially have the draft right now, and I wanted to take a look at that today. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. I have all of the teams here for you. We're just going to be taking a look at them. I had a quick look at them, and I wanted to be like, you know what? I think this will make for a good video, to be honest with you. So it is, of course, drafted, roster-based. There were more fighters that were signed, but it is going by different places like Los Angeles. They are having the first team that we're going to take a look at. Of course, heavyweight, Frank Mir and Andrei Arlovsky, two of the biggest names that stand out. I love Frank Mir, man. One of my favorite fighters, and it's going to be really fun to see him back in the cage. Again, I don't imagine the fights are going to go well. I'm looking at this from a perspective of my expectations are in check. That's why I feel like that I'm going to enjoy this. And I know a lot of people are saying that this isn't even going to take off. We're not even going to have our first fights, but I would imagine that we're going to see something, man. I'm interested how it's going to go. So we have Dawoon Jung, a name that we haven't heard in a while. Rashad Evans. I love Rashad Evans. Great to see Uriah Hall back. Who else? We have Sage Northcutt and Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson officially leaving the UFC. Super Sage Northcutt, man. He had some potential at 1. I actually don't know what happened to Sage Northcutt over at 1. I don't know why they let him go or if he left. I don't know if his contract was up. Regardless, man, it's going to be fun to see Sage Northcutt back. Chad Mendes is always fun. Uriah Faber. Ray Borg is a name that we haven't heard in a very long time. Of course, Aspen Ladd and Leslie Smith. I actually don't mind the female talent that they got. They got Jessica Penne, Corey McKenna, Cynthia Calvillo. Like, of course, like, the talent level is going downhill a little bit, but at least there's some familiar names. At least they're going to be a little bit more fun to watch. So Los Angeles has a pretty fun team. Is it going to do all that great? I'm not too sure, but let's take a look at what New York has signed up, okay? Alexei Oleinik, one of the GOATs in the heavyweight division. I know not really the GOAT, but he's always a good watch, right? Alan Betcher, Oven St. Preux, Devin Clark, we haven't heard in a long time. Chris Weidman recently bought out of retirement. I wonder actually what happened with that, to be honest with you, because Chris Weidman, of course, if you didn't know, announced his retirement on the weigh-in show. A lot of people didn't really seem to care. I wonder if what the fans are saying, which, like, the theory is he got cut and he kind of did the Darren Till thing where it's like, no, I just wanted to leave. I just wanted to retire. I wonder if he got cut from the UFC, disguised it as a retirement, and is now fighting the GFL, or supposedly the GFL is paying a ton of money, right? Maybe Chris Weidman was retired. They're like, hey, Chris, you want to come fight? Here's a ton of money. There we go, Chris Weidman out of retirement. I actually feel like Chris Weidman actually has a really good chance over in the GFL over here. But anyways, we have Philip Hawes, Dylan Dennis. He's going to bring some fun. Whether you like Dylan Dennis or not, whether you respect his skill set or not, he is going to bring some fun times over on the mic. Kevin Lee, I love watching Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's always and still a great fighter. Sydney Outlaw, Lance Palmer, like, we haven't heard some of these names in a very, very long time. Jimmy Rivera, I know, like, I'm probably the only person to say this ever, but Jimmy Rivera was one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, man. Love watching this guy fight. We have Holly Holm. I don't recognize Maya Ding. I don't recognize her, but regardless, like, this is a little bit better than the last team, I would say. Like, Alan Belcher, I don't know how old he is. That's gonna vary, and I would imagine, like, most of these fights are just gonna be age-based because a lot of these fighters are so over the hill that the age is actually going to make the difference. But let's take a look at what else we got going on over here. Sao Paulo team, Fabricio Verdum, Bruno Capolozo, Shogun, Carlos Antonio Jr. Haven't heard of him in a long time. Oh my God, I used the wrong OBS scene. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Douglas Lima, that's exciting. We have Alex Cowboy Oliveira, always really fun to watch. Patricky Pitbull, like, I'm excited, man. Henan Barao, a name we haven't heard in so long. Julio Aris, Rafael Sansao, one of the most underappreciated and underrated fighters of all time. And I don't mean to be disrespectful over here, but the names that I am not really familiar with is a lot of the female talent that I just noticed. But, like, man, this is a solid team, to be honest with you. This has some potential. I'm excited to see how exactly they're going to end up doing this. But let's take a look at what Miami has together. Junior Dos Santos, one of my favorite fighters, back, roided up, ready to go. Robelis Despine. I don't know if he signed a contract with Karate Combat or if they just have one fight. I don't know. But regardless, Robelis Despine has some potential. Thiago Santos, Useless Thiago Santos, as my dad would say. Dude lost to a 50-year-old in one of his last fight. Felipe Lins, we didn't see him too long ago. Yoel Romero, Hector Lombard, which is crazy. Gleison Tebow, Showtime. That's my guy. Anthony Pettis, one of my favorite fighters of all time, man. Same with Marlon Moraes. Jeremy Stevens, who the fuck is that guy? Charles Rosa, Andre Harrison. I'm not familiar with Eric Shelton, but I'm excited to see him. Kat Zingano's over here. Paige Van Zandt looking to take an L in every single organization possible. Here she is in the GFL, ready to go. From Power Slap to the GFL, Paige Van Zandt taking another L. But honestly, she's going to bring some fun. It's going to be fun to see Paige Van Zandt. Hannah Goldie, too. Hannah Goldie's a name, I will say. A name. But regardless, make for a fun fight. I love watching Marlon Moraes. I want to see this dude get a win, man. I want to see him get a win. And here, he has some potential. Guys, I feel like I'm the only one kind of excited for this promotion, to be honest with you. I even like those AI videos that have been brought up. Anything MMA, man, I love. Now let's take a look at Dubai. I wonder who's going to win. Todd Duffy. Not a clue how old Todd Duffy is, but that has some serious potential over at heavyweight. We have, like, Luke Rockhold's back. Derek Brunson's back. This is going to be a good team, man. Just look at the last names, to be honest with you. Damir Ismagulov. Very underrated fighter. Very, very underrated fighter. Good to see him back in MMA. Randy Field, close to my hometown. Always fun to watch in Bellator. Jessica Aguilar, we haven't heard that name in a while, too. These are going to be pretty exciting. I'm not familiar with a few names on here, but regardless, Tyron Woodley back. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, I forgot this to mention. I have a feeling this team's probably going to get the W, but who knows? Who knows? Luke Rockhold might get chinned. Tyron Woodley might actually just not throw his hands as usual, but we'll see. Now let's take a look over at the London team roster. Tanner Bozer, Alexander Gustafsson, Ilir Latifi, Musasi, one of my favorite fighters of all time. Danny Roberts, we haven't heard in a while. Benson Henderson, Mike Grundy, Cameron Elise. Josh Hill sounds familiar. But I can't put my finger on it. Regardless, Pandy Kyanzad, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Josephine Knutson. Apologies for the jump cut over here. My OBS crashed and my transition messed up, so we're going to continue on over here. But of course, it's not just about what I think about all of this. Let's take a look at MMA fighting, replies over to pieces of the Explore page to kind of get a gauge on how people are feeling about this. I'm excited for it. Personally, I'm excited to see a lot of these fighters. They're getting paid. It's going to be fun to see them back in the spotlight. It's going to be fun to see names like Frank Mir. The fights I'm not exactly looking forward to say, hey, this is going to be an absolute banger. There's a couple of them there that could be that way. I'm just not necessarily going to be looking too closely into it. But regardless, like and subscribe if you have not already. Let's take a look over at what some people had to say about this. Even with everyone past their prime, there's still tons of fun matches that can be made. Exactly. You just have to go into this with your expectations in check, everybody. In all seriousness, I'm leaning towards Team Dubai having a big advantage going into the season. I would imagine so as well. But it all depends on how they match up the fighters. I don't know if everybody's going to end up taking on each other. Not a clue how that's going to go. I can't wait to watch hour-long documentaries on how the failure of GFL. As excited I am for this is something that I actually, unfortunately, could see being the case. I hope it succeeds. I hope all of these fighters get paid. I hope that everybody has their giant payday for their families, but that does worry me. That potential is definitely there. Let's continue on to Gemini Jack. Whichever team has had the least KOs or accumulated the CTE in their already decades-long careers, that's probably going to win. Basically, anyone who hasn't already competed in the UFC, since they're probably fresh and potentially irrelevant. Otherwise, it's just this, yeah. I actually don't mind that take, to be honest with you. Like I said, and I would imagine that age is going to play a big factor over here, no matter what. A lot of people are really, really old coming into this organization. After the roster, what about the AI Avengers Fever Dream promo? I actually like this. I might do a tier list ranking those because I actually like what we've seen so far, but I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted, so we're not going to react to that for too long. But let's continue on over to Tim Koshkuba. If this was some sort of digital MMA simulation league where we got prime versions of all these fighters, that'd be kind of cool. Instead, it's sad, a little scary, and more sad. I understand that perspective. I truthfully do. I really, really do. But the way that I'm looking at it is these guys are coming back. They're going to get a giant paycheck, and they're probably going to be able to feed their families. From what we've heard, these guys are getting paid big money. As far as I know, no numbers have really been put on the table, but to get like some of these names and take some of these guys out of different promotions, man, they must be offering something good. So I'm excited for this. I'm happy for this. My expectations are in check for this, so I'm going to go into it with a good time, and no matter what, I'm sure that I will enjoy it. But I'd love to know what you guys think about it down below. In the meantime, though, why don't you check out this video if you love MMA? YouTube thinks that you'll like this video the best. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. Take care.